call the meeting, the February 17, 2021 regular meeting of the Mount Clemens Board of Education to order. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Collins?
Here.
Dr. McFadden?
Here.
Mr. Monk?
Here.
Ms. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Rickman?
Here.
Ms. Jarrett?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
A quorum has been established. Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Doc McFadden, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda are citizens' comments. This is the portion of the meeting where you, the citizens of the Mount Clemens Community School District, can address the board with any of your questions, comments, or concerns. We ask that you state your name and address. We ask that you be mindful you have 3 minutes by which to make your inquiries. Also, you may not receive a particular response to your inquiry this evening. Last but not least, I ask that you address all your questions, comments, concerns to the chair. And please, if you want to be recognized, for those of you who are more astute at Zoom, there's a little wave somewhere on the screen that you can wave, or indicate it in the little chat box, so Mr. Lindenberry can recognize those wishing to make comments. The agenda is now open for citizens' comments.
Patrick, you see Thomas Barnes?
I do.
Okay.
You have Mr. Barnes waiting, Mr. Rickman?
Yes, sir. You're recognized, Mr. Barnes.
Good evening. So my comments tonight come in lieu of
Mr. Barnes, can you state your name and address for the record, sir?
Thomas Barnes, 291 Jones Street, Mount Clemens, Michigan.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to address the board by first saying that I am an extreme fan of this district. Of our family, our community, our business has been in total support of the district and in trying to help the district find their way back to health. I asked a question in our last meeting, in the last school board meeting, about girls basketball. I did not get a response from our athletic director about girls basketball in the past month since the last school board meeting. But I got a call from a frantic parent saying that they were going to cancel the girls basketball season if there wasn't enough girls to participate in the basketball season. So my child was rushed out of her classes at the International Academy of Macomb and swooped over to Mount Clemens so that she could hurry up and join the team in one day and be ready for a practice and a game the next day. No email sent, no letter sent home from the district, not so much as a robocall from the district about any athletic offerings at Mount Clemens Community Schools for my child, who is currently enrolled in the school district by way of being at IAM. So with my child being a part of your athletic program, I also want to be a huge supporter. We are parents, we are members of this community, and we love these children together. So a group of fathers and I, our TCB youth mentoring group, the Mount Clemens Booster Club, is now sponsoring some new uniforms for our boys basketball team. It distraught me today that the boys basketball team's game had to get canceled today because the boys found out at 2 p.m. that they're academically ineligible to play in today's game. There's 15 members of this basketball team. I don't see how we couldn't put 5 kids on the floor today to play that game. And if the kids were academically ineligible, how did they only find out at 2 p.m. today that they were academically ineligible for a game that started at 5:30? There seems to be some communication faux pas. It is very hard to be a fan of the district and of the athletic programs and of the services that are being offered when there is so much that we just don't know. We got a schedule for the basketball game girl. It didn't even have the name of the school on the schedule. Like, I mean, like, I have questions that- so if somebody can kind of give us the key to the door and show us how we can be a bigger help to the district so that we can help and service our kids in a better way, by being able to offer them the things that they need to help build their confidence, keep them in classes, and keep them graduating at a high rate. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, sir. And I'm pretty sure those that are responsible for getting a response heard your comments. So thank you. The agenda is still open for citizens' comments. Agenda is still open for citizens' comments.
You have Ms. Simpson and Mr. Hay.
Okay, who is first?
Mr. Hay.
Mr. Hay.
Carl Hay, 21 2nd Street, Mount Clemens, Michigan. We're in a really rough spot as a country, as a world. We got a lot of stuff going on from COVID to everything else. I see a whole lot of maneuvering done by different organizations, different businesses to accommodate people, to make sure they have what they need, to make sure things get done. My son's on the basketball team. The game was canceled at 2 o'clock. I'm just wondering, are we holding these children to a higher standard than some adults are being held? Are we not are we not recognizing that we're in a different position right now? And we were already a school system that needed help for our children. That's why I started a study hall program, which I can't do right now because of COVID restrictions. So my question is then with the kids that I was already helping not being able to come to me and get help, how are they getting help now? And if they're not getting help now, are we judging them by the same standard? Because we already knew these kids needed help. And I'm just curious how preemptive, how proactive, how fluid, how much we're doing to make sure that we are meeting the needs of these young lives. And I think that's a question everybody needs to be asking themselves as to what they're doing, because we do require things of these children. Are we holding ourselves to the same standards? Because we need to as adults, because we're not just teaching them by the words and the lessons we have, we're teaching them by the examples we set. So are we being responsible? Are we being good stewards over their education? Because if we're not, but we're expecting them to, I think we're being hypocrites, and I think we're holding them to a higher standard than we're actually holding ourselves. Now, I have 2 children in the school district. My daughter happens to be at the top of her class, my son not so much. I'm the same parent to both of my children. I'm not doing anything more special with my daughter than I am with my son. I help them both with their homework. I talk to both of them about what they need to be doing, but there's a grave difference in where they're at right now. But I appreciate everything that the school district does. And I am here as a resource to help with anything that I can help. As Thomas said, you know, we got new uniforms on the way for the basketball team, which we had to figure out on our own because we didn't know if or when the schedule was coming. So they're a little late, but we got them ordered.
Mr. Rickman, it's 3 minutes.
All right.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Ms. Simpson will be next.
Ms. Simpson.
Hi, good evening. My name is Juliana Simpson, and I am a 1st grade teacher at Seminole Academy. I just wanted to come on this evening and address the board. As a teacher, I suddenly got really nervous. I do this every day with my little ones, but I suddenly got really nervous, so I'm sorry. I just wanted to express to the board, first of all, how much I love working in Mount Clemens and how much I love my students. I'm very happy to be a part of the Mount Clemens family. and I'm very grateful to be a teacher at Seminole. I also want to express my sheer exhaustion from this school year, from switching back and forth between fully remote, hybrid, back to remote, and juggling my A group, my B group, and my C group, and constantly feeling like I am failing my students because I'm juggling and trying to make sure that every student is getting an equitable education. And I wanted to also publicly come on and commend the majority of parents who are working harder than ever. I don't think parents get a lot of credit, get enough credit for how much they are working during this. I see parents picking up packets and messaging me and responding to messages and checking Seesaw. And I really appreciate that. And that's the majority of the parents. But I do want to make the board aware that there is a small percentage of our parents that are just not holding up their end of the deal, so to speak. And that's very frustrating as a teacher to feel like more is getting asked of me in terms of document this and show what I'm doing. But there is a very small percentage of parents that are not doing their end of the deal. And I just wanted to express that to the board and maybe plant that seed of what maybe the board can do to hold those parents a little more accountable and make it more a partnership for these kids' education. So hopefully I did not ramble too much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Last call, citizens' comments. Do you see anyone, Mr. Lindenberry?
No, sir.
Seeing or hearing none, moving the agenda. Next on the agenda, action item 5, the consent agenda. Item 5A, approval of the minutes of the January 20th, 2021 regular meeting, approval of the January 30th, 2021 board retreat, approval of the February 11th, 2021 board workshop. And item B, approval of bills for payment. Chair would entertain a motion relative to the consent agenda.
So move.
Moved by Dr. McFadden. Is there a second?
Support.
Second by Mrs. Jarrett. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the motion on the floor? Consent agenda, approval of the minutes, and approval for bills for payment.
I do have a question, and it is on page,
On what, Mr. Jarrett?
it's the, we have, oh shoot, where is it? It's the consent agenda from January 20th. Action items, number B, we have the approval of the bills. It looks like the motion was made by Dr. McFadden and seconded by Ed Bruley. And if I understand correctly, Ed's term ended in December, so I don't know who did that.
So there's an error in the January 2021 meeting minutes, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Correct.
All right.
I believe I was the one who seconded that motion.
Okay. So we would have to, for that particular, for that agenda item, it would have to be approved as corrected. So Ms. Jarrett, can you pull that off of the consent agenda and we'll deal with that separately?
Okay. I don't understand what I need to make for that.
No, you just say you want to pull the January 2021 regular minutes from the consent.
Okay, I want to pull the January 2021 consent agenda off the minutes. Or the,
Okay, you want to pull the January 2021 regular minutes
yes.
from the consent. So now we're dealing with the approval of the minutes from the January 30th, 2021 board retreat, the February 11th, 2021 board workshop, and the approval of bills for payment. Any questions on the motion on the floor? Hearing or seeing none, call the roll, please.
Sorry, Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, the motion carries. Consent agenda item 5, number 1, the January 2021 regular meeting. Mrs. Jarrett, you've talked about your correction for those minutes. Are there any additional corrections to the minutes? And Mr. Monk did indicate that he believes he was the seconder of that motion, and we all know it could not have been Mr. Brewley. And so, having no other corrections, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the January 20th, 2021 regular meeting as corrected.
I'm sorry, may I interject?
Yes.
I'm looking through my notes, and again, this is my mistake. But in my notes, I do have Mrs. Walker as the second of the consent agenda for January 20th, 2021. And Dr. McFadden was the first.
So am I looking at something different?
I'm looking at my notes. I'm just
What
at my
particular,
handwritten notes that I take during the meeting.
Okay, on the page is page 4 at the top of the page of the board packet that we received.
Yes,
What-
I understand that there was a mistake. I'm going through my minutes that I hand wrote while the meeting's going on. And I do have Mrs. Walker as the second on that.
Would not be Mr. Monk, it would be Ms. Walker, and is, so, Mr. President,
yeah,
do I make a motion to,
approve the January 20th, 21 regular meeting minutes as corrected. It would be your motion.
okay, I make a motion to approve the January 2021 agenda,
No, regular minutes
regular minutes
as
As-
corrected.
as corrected.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, it's been moved by Member Jarrett to approve the January 20th, 2021 regular meeting minutes as corrected.
Second.
Second, Dr. McFadden. Are there additional questions, comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing and seeing none, call the roll, please.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, the motion carries. Item 6, the 2021 Energy Conservation Bonds. Mrs. Jarrett. Excuse me, Mrs. Beals, I'm sorry.
Hi, this is a resolution authorizing the issuance and delegating of the sale of bonds and other matters related to. What this is we're looking for a bond to fix the roof at the middle school. We are looking for $2,280,000. This is a conservation improvement bond. And if Mrs. Potter would like to interject some additional information, that would be fine too.
Good evening. So as we advised when we asked for your permission to go for the Department of Ag loan, we are taking now a two-prong approach to securing funding for the middle school roof. This is our second attempt at an energy conservation bond. The first attempt, which we executed in December, was not successful. This bond is now coming before you. There are a couple of changes. The first change is that by new regulation, we now have to have Stifel offer an insurance policy, which we have already taken care of in this paperwork. And the second is that we will be shortening the terms of the loan, which will raise the payment in the hopes that we will be seen as a better risk, because the feedback received by our financial advisors on the first bond was that the terms were for too long of a period and they did not feel the risk was a good risk for them. But they indicated that perhaps they would entertain it if we could make the payment period shorter. And so that's what we're attempting to do with this.
Regarding the piece you just mentioned about the shortening of the bond payoff, how much does that change the payments?
I don't have the change in the monthly payment projection right in front of me. I will make sure to get that for you. I can tell you that the original bond was for 15 years, and this will lessen that to just under 10. Because we indicated that we would be using that enhancement millage through the county to make the payments, and that enhancement millage was only approved for 10 years. It is our hope that by shortening the term, it will make the risk acceptable for the lender. I believe that the increase in the payment was roughly $50,000 per year. It was quite a significant jump. But if the Department of Agriculture loan does not materialize as we hope, this is really our only viable option to secure funding. Otherwise, we have to put it out on a ballot issue and ask the voters to approve it.
So what this resolution is granting the administration to apply for the bond?
Correct.
Or-
It's a resolution by the board giving district administration the right to have our financial advisor, PFM, and now Stifel contact privately lenders with the offer that we're making, the terms that we're offering, to see if we can secure funding on the project.
Thank you.
So help me understand. I mean, I'm a little confused. So we're going for this at a shorter payoff period, which typically that means that the premium's going to go up, not unless the finance goes down to protect the amount of premium that's going to go up, but you don't have the numbers right now.
Right, I don't have them in front of me right at the moment. There was a workup, and if memory serves, the payment went up about $50,000 a year.
Okay, give me I need to, I mean, you're asking me to vote, to go forward on something. We need actual numbers. I mean, it's almost, you're the finance person. We need to know what that number is that's going, that we potentially will be on the hook for going forward. We need to know what that dollar amount is. Is it 170,000? Is it 200,000? What is that number?
It was raising it from $225,000 per year to, I think it was $250,000 per year to about $300,000 per year. With an estimate from the enhancement millage, we received just over $400,000 this year through that bond. However, that millage is based on our student count numbers, our FTEs. So we don't want to go too much higher on that payment than that, because if our student enrollment drops, the amount of the enhancement millage will also drop. It's a big payment and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I get it.
But the roof is, as you are aware, the roof is in desperate need of replacement.
I get that too. That's why, me personally, I want to know actual numbers. So I can make a well-calculated, informed decision. I get it. I understand both. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Are we up against a hard timeline to get this resolution moving forward? Or can this go back to the business committee so we can talk about it more?
I believe that we can table this. They did ask that the resolution be passed when you had the entire board present, which indicates to me that if you're not, I mean, we could also call a special meeting if you would prefer to do that. And I can try to pull up the information from PFM while the meeting continues. If you want to come back around to it, I can work on that. I apologize for not having that right at my fingertips. I dropped the ball. So I will work on it, and we can table it for this meeting, or we can table it temporarily, and I'll find the information for you.
I think the best move would be just table it to the business committee and bring it up to the next board meeting. We don't want to rush in the decision process of that bond. I know it's necessary and needed, but as my fellow board members have stated, we're going to need some more factual information before we put our necks on the line. I'm not saying we don't trust and believe what you're doing or what you're saying, but as a board, we probably need a little bit more information.
So, Dr. McFadden, do I take that as the motion to send this back to committee?
Yes, sir. Please. My motion is to send this back to committee for discussion.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. McFadden to send the 2021 Energy Conservation Bond Resolution back to committee, second by Mr. Monk. Any questions, comments, discussion? Yeah, I'd just like to, Mrs. Potter, in the letter, the resolution and extra breakdown, the only numbers that I really see is the 2.288 million. There in the language on the whereas, those are the gaps that we need to fill in terms of what the monthly payoff. I think I heard you said that it'd be in the neighborhood of $52,000 a year additionally. But all that stuff can be vetted out at the committee level, and then that information brought to the board at the workshop or at the next meeting. So that's some of the information that I would like to see that's provided to the committee.
I like
Go ahead.
I like to see the same thing because I know our committee meeting usually falls right before the workshop. So it should be clarity already given by the time the workshop takes place. And then the next board meeting shouldn't be no questions whatsoever, but hopefully that takes place.
Thank you, sir. Any additional questions or comments on the motion on the floor to table the agenda item? Hearing or seeing none, call the roll, please.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, the motion carries. The resolution is sent back to committee. Item C, lease agreements. A, Carn Center. B, Washington Academy. Mrs. Beals.
Okay, let's start with the Carn Center first. Back in January, the board directed me to contact Robert Charles Davis, who was our attorney when we were dealing with a tenant issue at Carn Center. So I reached back out to Mr. Davis in regards to the questions that the board had in terms of paragraph 14 and also in terms of the condition of the property. What I'm asking tonight is that that we have a resolution from the board to direct me to have Mr. Davis prepare a letter consistent with paragraph 14 of the lease, which means paragraph 14 is stating that the leasee no longer desires to utilize the facility. Also to have to set up a meeting with Mr. Davis and myself and Mrs. Potter, meeting with the city of Mount Clemens to discuss the ending of the lease. He is also going to analyze grant documents to determine if there are any legal issues that would be caused by the termination of the lease. We talked about this at the work session last week, and
Mr. President, we need a motion for that.
Yes, sir. The chair would need a motion.
I move to approve the resolution for the superintendent to draft a letter in response to the lease.
Support.
Moved by Dr. McFadden to approve the letter to attorney to draft the attorneys to draft a letter to the city indicating the district's position to terminate the lease. Was that June 30, 2021?
yes.
Is that okay? June 30, 2021, and second by Mr. Monk. Are there any questions, comments, discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing or seeing none, call the roll, please.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, the motion carries. Washington Academy.
So this evening, I'm asking also for another resolution regarding a lease that we have. I am asking that the board extend the lease that expired on August 31st, 2020 until August 31st, 2021. At that time, or before that time, actually in March, we will be entering into negotiations with the county to finalize a new lease or a sale. Any new lease agreement would take precedent over the deadline of the lease extension.
The chair would entertain a motion. Chair would entertain a motion relative to the leasing of Washington Academy.
So move.
Moved by member Jarrett,
Support.
second by member Monk. I think I heard Mr. Monk first. I heard you second, Ms. Walker. Excuse me. Any questions, comments, discussion on the motion on the floor?
We did discuss this at the business meeting in reference to this lease at the Washington location.
Mrs. Bill, just so the public understands that's not been involved in it as intimately as the district has. This motion is to continue with the lease that expired in August of 2020 is to renew that lease until August of 2021 or until such time a new lease is negotiated and or a sale of the building is negotiated.
Correct.
Just want to make, it's great. All right, any additional discussion on the motion on today? Hearing or seeing none, call the roll, please.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beers. Item 8, board business. Item 8A, MASB Region 8 Board of Directors election. We are in Region 8 of the Michigan Association of School Boards, and I think biannually, there's an election for representation from the region. At one time, I served as a board of director for Region 8, and it's for those in Macomb County and Oakland County that are in Region 8. I think the board members should have received candidate information from 4 people vying for the regional seat. There was a Sandra Ducky out of Ferndale Public Schools, Mary Hansler out of Oxford Community Schools, Bridget McQuestion out of Lake Orient Community Schools, and Gina Walker, New Haven Community Schools. You should have received some information on each one of them, stating their case on supporting their candidacy for this position. And I think it's one seat being elected this year. So basically what it is the board nominates somebody, or if anybody has anybody that they want to nominate, they nominate them, the board discusses it and votes on it. In the past, I've generally known many of the board members that were seeking office. I'm familiar with a few of the names, but I can't say I know any of the individuals that are vying for the position. So this is board business, so we 7 can talk about this and decide on which direction we want to go in.
Mr. President, you say that we received packets on these individuals. Besides myself not receiving or remembers seeing a packet, did anybody else besides yourself receive a packet on this board? My colleagues may say yea or nay about.
I looked, I just got the new, I just got this information 11 minutes before the board meeting started.
So you're in my boat. You don't know who these individuals are.
I have no idea. I haven't had a chance to read the information. I haven't had a chance to read about the candidates, what their position is. I haven't done anything.
Because I know I will, as the emails were sent, they were sent to my email address, and I was just under the impression that all of the board members received that information.
Well,
it wasn't a packet. It was, I might have been, mistaken if you might have thought I said a packet. It could have been a 1-page email introducing, I'm interested in seeking your support for Region 8 on the board of directors of Michigan Association of School Boards. It wouldn't have been a packet.
Also, what you're saying is that the candidates sent it out themselves, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, I haven't received anything from anybody. No. I haven't personally.
Paul, did they send it to you possibly, and maybe you might have?
Yes, there was that that I didn't send. I sent out last month's packet. But I checked with MASB because I get mail from them all the time, and I ask if each of our board members are receiving this mail, so I don't have to, double spam you all. So it was my assumption that you all would have received these packets from MASB, and I can double check to make sure they have your correct email addresses.
Can I interject? I did receive individual ones from 2 people for candidate in my email. So I got a letter from or email from specific people, actually. I got one from Bridget something question for MASB Board of Directors, and a Gina Walker. was
Walker.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that, and I think I got one other one. Yep, a Sandra, can't pronounce this, Dukhie. So I did get stuff and I read through them, but it was kind of cursory, and I don't know these people, so I have no opinion here. I'm just reading what they say.
And basically, unless you happen to know them by knowing them at various functions or just know them, there's a name with information on a page that you're asked to make a decision on. I have met Gina Walker on one occasion, but I don't really know her. And for what it's worth, it would be my opinion to support the Homer. She's in New Haven, 7-8 miles up the road. So I would be willing to cast my individual vote for Gina Walker.
President, how many do we have to vote for?
It's one position.
So we got, okay, so there's 4 different people vying for one position?
Yes, there's 4 people seeking 1 seat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I heard it wrong. I thought it was 4 people vying for 4 positions. Okay.
Oh, no, it's 4 for 1.
Okay.
It's a 3-year term.
Okay.
I am familiar that Ms. Walker been serving her board for what, 10 years?
It's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think she was the board president maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I personally know her myself. I've been at plenty of MASB conventions with her. I've spoken with her on a personal basis. I know her on a personal basis. So I would feel comfortable voting for her.
I move that we the Mount Clemens Board of Education, support the candidacy of Gina Walker out of the New Haven Community School District for the Region 8 Board of Directors.
Support.
Moved by Member Rickman, second by Member Monk, to support Gina Walker for the MASB Region 8 Board of Directors position. Are there any additional nominations for said position?
I think Ms. Walker would be a good choice. I see her certification is at diamond level with the MASB certifications schedule, the merit, distinction, master board member. So I think she'd be a good pick. She's a familiar face. She's close to home. You guys got my support on that vote.
Any additional questions, comments on the motion on the floor, or any additional nomination? We're open for either. But we do have a motion and a second on Gina Walker. Hearing no additional nominations, call the roll, please.
Mr. Rickman,
Yes.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
The motion carries. Next on the agenda, item 8B, resolution to permit school boards to meet in person.
President, I move to approve the resolution to permit school boards to meet in person.
Support.
Moved by Member Monk to approve the resolution to permit school boards to meet in person. Second by Dr. McFadden. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the motion on the floor?
This resolution, it's it still gives us the option to do it in virtually also, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yes, that is correct.
Or a combination of the
It's
two.
a combination of
Right.
of two. Yeah. The only, and it's not a concern, it's just an observation, I guess. It doesn't state any date or time. I know this is a boilerplate resolution sent out by MASB, and then we just interact with, the local stuff. But I don't see, are we basing this on whenever the governor allows, or the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and their correspondence and judgment that they make on these matters, if they come up with a date? So that like I said, it was just an observation that we didn't see. I didn't see any date in the resolution, and it does not allude to anything about COVID in terms of when the governor says is okay, or a date specific. So I guess with the resolution as it is, we can play it by ear and have the flexibility that Mr. Monk was just talking about. That when Dr. asked a question about, allows us to meet virtually, in person, or a combination of two. So even though I have a observation, I think that last paragraph or last sentence, covers that, and we'd be able to be flexible to make decisions when at the time that we need to make them.
Yeah. Or if you need me to, I can revise that resolution at the end to add whenever deemed prudent by the governor or the Michigan Department of Health. If we need to, or we can let it stand as is.
Yeah, it can stand as is, because I think, it gives us the flexibility. If we need to change it, we can.
Okay.
Yeah. Any additional questions, comments, concerns on the motion on the floor? And the motion on the floor is to approve the resolution to permit school boards to meet in person. Hearing or seeing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, motion carries. And this motion, or this resolution that we just passed, is requesting the governor and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to allow us to meet in person, or in person, virtually, or a combination of two immediately. So there's no, I didn't read it thoroughly enough, Mr. Monk, because it says immediately. So
Oh, it says okay.
but it's still determined based on the two entities
Right.
granting us that, because we're requesting they allow us to do it immediately.
Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda, item 8C, resolution to allow in-person contact sports.
Mr. President, I move to approve the resolution to allow in-person contact sports.
Moved by member Monk,
Support.
second by member Jarrett, to approve the resolution to allow in-person contact sports. Any questions, comments, concerns, or discussion on the motion on the floor? Even though we didn't put it in the kind of resolution that we're approving tonight, we were ahead of the curve with this, because at our January meeting, we did approve having the superintendent to authorize to have winter sports participation based on the number of participants, meaning that if we had enough students to participate in those sports, then we would allow the sports to move forward. And so I am aware that there has been a minimum of one girls basketball game and 2 boys basketball games. They had a game earlier this week that was postponed to Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'm not sure about what happened today's postponement or cancellation of that game. I haven't gotten any information relative to the rescheduling of that event. But the resolution is to allow in-person contact sports. And it's moved and second. Any additional questions, comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing or seeing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
yes,
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes, the motion carries. Next on the agenda are either the information items. Item 9, Business Committee. Are there any questions on the financial reports that should be included in your packets? Any questions regarding the open purchase order listings? Any questions or comments on the contracts listings? Any questions or comments regarding the facilities listings?
Comment is, Mr. President, all these items that was discussed at the business committee meeting and also at the Thursday, was it second Thursday workshop.
Thank you, sir. Moving the agenda. Next on the agenda, item 10, Superintendent's comment. Madam Superintendent.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to begin talking about our reconfirmation meeting for our learning plan for COVID-19. We do this every board meeting, every regular board meeting. And so today is the reconfirmation of January and February. Beginning January 19th, all of our students return to the hybrid model of instruction with their cohort. So our cohort A are in face-to-face instruction on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesdays is time for our remote student learning. And on Thursdays and Fridays, our cohort B attends school face-to-face. We have had very in the high 90s % of two-way interaction rates of our students who are in remote and also our hybrid students. We don't anticipate any change at this time in changing the hybrid model. Are there any questions? This is also a time for citizens' comments in terms of the COVID and the return to learn plans.
Yeah, yes, Mrs. Beal, I have a question or follow-up. Last meeting, there was a gentleman who talked about his students were 100% remote, and they were only receiving 1 day of instructions. Have we addressed that issue?
Yes, that issue was addressed at Seminole, and the teachers have added additional time for remote students. They are also being more proactive in terms of their prep periods and additional time that they have to support students, just to making sure that all of the parents know when that time is.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna just kind of work through it really quickly. There's a lot going on in terms of curriculum, which is exciting because that's really what we're all about. So right now, the STEM literacy project from the ISD is sending STEM kits to all of our third grade students. So the students at Seminole, the third grade students at Seminole should be getting their kits within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And there are offerings and opportunities for teachers to receive training on those as well. So we're pretty excited about that. We also have been working and planning summer school. The ISD has 6 summer school offerings that they have had in the past, in addition to an intensive literacy and mathematics camp. What we're doing here is looking at ways that we can supplement what the ISD offers with some of our, by extending some of those days for our students. All of these camps can and will be offered here in Mount Clemens, and the ISDs camps are 3.5 hours a day, 4 days a week. Breakfast and lunch will be provided, and transportation will be provided as well. We are looking at extending that day by adding just some additional supports for kids, whether it's in academics or whether it is in just some additional learning, perhaps some additional PE classes, some Spanish classes, and some art and music as well. There'll be 2 sessions. One is June 28th and will run till June 23rd with no session on July 5th, of course. And session B will run from July 26th to August 20th. So that's quite an extended summer learning time for our kids. But each camp will have different standards that will be addressed with the students. So our kids can attend both camps at no charge, just for some extra additional support. There's also a grant from the ISD to offer one-on-one tutoring in literacy and mathematics to students. We're looking for teachers who may be interested in doing this as well. They're looking at one-on-one is preferred, but we can have up to 3 students per teachers. That's the curriculum piece. We had winter break was Friday and Monday and Tuesday. So I hope the kids had a little bit of time to play outside in all that snow. And we are also moving along and moving forward in our school year. We have some board meetings coming up in March. Our committee meetings are March 9th. There was an apartment fire on early Sunday morning here in Mount Clemens, and Mr. Lucas and Mr. Brownlee have been interested and have been helping out and offering some supports at Seminole for some of the families that have been displaced by the fire. We received some gift cards from Myers, 20 gift cards, and they should be coming into the office either tomorrow or early next week, and we will be looking at ways to honor some of our teachers and distributing some of those. On February 11th, which was last Thursday, we had some professional learning for our staff, and most of the teachers found that very, very positive. There have been some, I have to tell you, I'm just really proud as I read the responses from our teachers at how engaged and thoughtful and interested they have been in this professional learning. We are beginning a wellness committee. It had been out, there had been a wellness committee in the district in the past, and we are reviving that. So we are looking at having a student or two, some parents, teachers, administrators, and of course our food service to help us bring wholesome and appetizing menu choices to our students and their families. We are hoping for a preliminary meeting in March. If anyone is interested in joining this committee, I would love to have you there. There's lots of budget things that are really interesting occurring on the state and the federal level. At the federal level, we are looking at a $130 billion for the country, of course, based on ESSER II funding grant requirements. This was a grant that is it's a challenge grant, so we need to apply for it. We received $165,000 from this similar grant in the summer, and we are anticipating, or hopefully we will be applying for this grant again. There's also $5 billion hit for the hardest hit states in terms of education from the pandemic, and Michigan will probably be eligible for these funds as well. There's also $50 billion that has been earmarked for COVID testing in schools. They are looking at purchasing rapid tests and passing this along to schools, or having us purchase the tests and apply for reimbursement. I'm not exactly sure what this will look like and what this will mean for our students, but I will keep you posted on that. In terms of the governor's budget, just a few things. We are looking at an $82 increase over our foundation allowance from last year, but they are moving the pupil count back to the way it always was, with 90 in the fall, 90% of the count in the fall, and 10% of the count in the winter count. So we'll be back to normal instead of our super blend. However, they are to lessen the impact of this loss. They are looking at allocating up to 70% of the loss due to a decline in student enrollment due to the implementation of the 90-10 split. This is a one-time proposal. They're also increasing GSRP funding, and there is also $120 million in the government's proposal for summer learning and engagement out of school time. So these are some of the things that we are looking at paying for some of our summer camps and offering additional options to our kids. And that's the end of my report.
Any questions of the superintendent?
I have a question, Mr. Rickman.
Yes.
You said that there were families at Seminole that were affected by the fire late Saturday night.
We don't know if they were Seminole families or not. There are Mount Clemens families that were affected by the fire.
Okay. So no one that we're aware of that's directly in the district.
Correct.
Okay.
Any additional questions of the superintendent? Thank you, Mrs. Bills. Can you?
Oh, can I add one more thing?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
I am so sorry. We also had a wonderful donation of basketballs by Mr. Barnes, and the mayor and other city officials were over at the high school to receive those basketballs. So we're very excited about that and really appreciate the support in terms of the basketballs and also in terms of the basketball uniforms for our team. So thank you, Mr. Barnes, and your group.
All right. Moving the agenda, item 11, committee reports. Anything additional to report, Dr. McFadden?
Oh, we discussed everything in the business committee at the business committee, and we also discussed it at board workshop. Nothing additional for me to report.
Any questions of the chair? Thank you, Dr. McFadden. Mr. Linenberg, Community Coalition.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have a report for the coalition or for the Education Foundation, but I would like to say that there was 24 apartments that caught fire Saturday night, and they were all displaced, mainly elderly and veterans. If anyone would like to make a donation, the fire department was collecting non-perishable goods of food, of clothing, of Meyer gift cards, anything that you can do to help these folks out. It was midnight on a Saturday night, and it was freezing cold, and our firemen were out there for 17 hours, had to come back for a hot spot, and it was obviously a horrible situation. So the community's rallied, and we're proud of what we've done so far, but we'll have to do some more. So that's all I have to say.
Just to piggyback, thank you, Mr. Lindenberg. Just to piggyback on that, the fire department and the Red Cross, because I was in contact with the fire department, and they were saying that they have enough food that's been donated, and now the additional donations that they received, they were going to send that down to Ypsilanti that had a similar occurrence, but so you can still donate. They will go to a worthy cause. But my understanding as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, that for those families that were impacted by the fire Saturday night here in Mount Clemens, they feel they have enough food at this time donated.
We can agree that too much is never enough.
I agree. Yes, sir. I said, hey, we got it. We already got enough. I said, well, you got some more because I'm sending some over. And I will concur with Mr. Lindenberry that there was no educational foundation report. I hijacked Mr. Chicktail in the grocery store, and he said, no, I didn't have any report. Curriculum personnel.
That would be me.
That was you, Mrs. Walker.
That would be me. There was no meeting. I will be contacting the other members to schedule a meeting time for all of us. I have a couple new bosses and my calendar went wacky, but it sounds like Superintendent Beal's covered almost everything anyway. So I will contact them by Friday now that I know what days I have open and what many days I don't.
Okay. Are there any additional input from the other members of the committee? All right. Policy committee.
Mr. President, we had an informational meeting with my other two colleagues, and that was pretty much it. But other than that, no report.
Thank you, sir. Legislative. We did have a meeting that I was able to attend. I will piggyback on some of the things, the items that Mrs. Beal talked about in terms of there's grappling between the Democrats and Republicans about how much additional funding. The Democrats want $164 per pupil increase. The Republicans want 82. She talked about the added money into GSRP. If I took my notes right, they're doubling the formula for the financing of GSRP. At least that's they're proposing to double the funding formula for the GSRP. The no blended count, 90% in the fall and 10%. Trying to go back to that count with the 70% for those that might have a declining in enrollment. They set aside $200 million to cover that, $120 million for summer school programs and projects for enhanced learning opportunities for students that have been that have not had the opportunity because of COVID. There's a lot of talk about what money is coming from where and how, because there will be an influx of money into the system from the federal government based on the stimulus and then the new dollars that will be sent to that's earmarked for education. The Senate is at the federal level as a Senate supplemental of federal relief spending of $1.9 billion, $1.5 billion and additional dollars being talked about for Title I. Let's see, there's the stimulus dollars that potentially for that stimulus money that would be an additional $450 per student. But that's those are things that need to be negotiated by those legislative bodies. Then the Macomb County School Boards Association priorities for 2021 legislative session are suggestions for funding to increase special education reimbursement funding, to increase the CTE and other related funds, to lower the district costs related to MEPSR's unfunded liability, expand preschool options for more families and students, to increase funding for early and middle college programs. They're part of the priorities for is to look at the assessment and accountability, advocate for less testing, both at the state and national levels, use assessments for local intervention, rather than punitive measures. There are some priorities around the evaluation of teachers and other staffing issues that they need solutions to. They're recommending to lower the cut scores or suspend tests for certification of all provisional teacher certificates, to extend timelines for temporary certification for enrollment and completion of the ED, of your educational program, I should say, for teachers and individuals willing to work in special education programs. Allow expired licensed teachers to renew certification without additional coursework or programming if degree earned after a certain year. They haven't decided what year that's going to be. To create a simple, low-cost pathways for general education certified teachers to teach special education with an endorsement, and also to partner with universities to expedite teacher prep programs for all special education certifications. So these are some of the priorities that Macomb County School Boards Association will put in resolution form and provide to the Michigan legislature and the Michigan Department of Education. So that is my report. Next, board comments. We will start with this. Yes, sir.
We did have a athletic committee meeting.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Athletic committee, Dr. McFadden. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we had a athletic ad hoc committee meeting yesterday via Zoom. Myself and Ms. Collins was there as board members. We talked about and discussed. We know we got winter sports going on, but the discussion was basically about the COVID-19 and the MHSAA guidelines. If there was a resolution that was needed by the board or not to allow them just to follow those guidelines, because we had the vote in the fall for the football transaction with the COVID-19 situation. Do you think we need a vote for that, or do we just roll with the administration following the guidelines by the state?
Well, I remember when we voted on the guidelines for fall. I just, and other board members can chime in. I think that protocol is a good document, a good template, but it needs to be modified to show indoor sports or basketball as opposed to football, because all of those things were generated around football. For example, it said neither team will have the locker room. No more than 10 athletes can be in the locker room at one time. So I just think that guideline the template is a good template. It just needs to be tweaked to reflect now winter sports as opposed to the football schedule.
Well, in our discussion we had yesterday, we realized that the COVID-19 was so new and early on during the fall that people were just scrambling, trying to figure out what to do next. The MHSAA put out a pretty good guideline. Mr. Duncan was there, Ms. Hannah was there, and they went over all the rules that the MHS had out, with the locker rooms, with the cleaning, with the position of the tables, pretty detailed and well thought out approach to how to go with the COVID-19 situation. I think with the guidelines we had in the fall, we did that because there was no other guidelines there. Now with the guidelines already out from an MHSAA standpoint, instead of just trying to recreate, do an add to it, I believe they sent the MHSAA guidelines to everybody. I'm not sure if they did or didn't. We should just follow those guidelines and just move the resolution to follow the MHSAA guidelines unless something else comes up. That's my thought on it. Ms. Collins, you want to jump in there? I remember you was at the meeting yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of that information regarding contact sports came through the Troon Blast. If you click on the hyperlink order, you can read everything. So it's outlined by the health department as well as the high school athletic association. So it's pretty spelled out clearly of what they need to do. And it sounds like that is what is going on. You know, as long as there's enough people there to make sure it's enforced, I think we'll be good.
So out of the committee, our recommendation would probably be just adopt or continue to follow the MHSAA in the health department guidelines compared to what we was in the fall. In the fall, it was football related. Now it's indoor, not outdoor. Unless somebody else got someone they want to throw in there and say, no, they don't want to do that. And, you know, I'm open for that suggestion, but I think the recommendation from the committee, or I know the recommendation from the committee is to follow those guidelines that they have already set up in position.
And
I think the biggest thing that we just, because I looked at, I still get the newsletters from Michigan High School Athletic Association and all the different rules and the guidelines. The biggest thing we just need to make sure, and this is, you know, directed towards the superintendent, is that when we did the football one, we had no fans in the bleachers. But with basketball, we have fans in the bleachers, but we don't have individual seating. So there's a guideline by the Michigan High School Athletic Association saying that each seating, you know, groupings or individuals and those seats, because we don't have individual seats, need to be taped off so you are showing social distance with the seating inside our gym.
And that's probably, you know, one of those things I said it needs to be tweaked to reflect the winter sports as opposed to football. Yeah.
And what the discussion was, I know that template is morphing every day. I mean, that's not like the made in stone. It's like a living document, as we may say, because every week or every other day, you know, they changing some things with the guidelines. You know, like, hey, you got to do this now, you got to do that now. But I'm thinking if we give them just one direction and have them follow that, it's better than us have to come back to another meeting every other day or every other week and make a vote to change something to make something happen.
Yeah, I think that in our last meeting when we approved moving forward with winter sports, it was with a caveat that we adhere to the guidelines established by MHSAA and the health, you know, the CDC. I think we made reference to that. It may not have been in the body of the motion, but we made reference to that we follow those guidelines. And just to piggyback on that, I was at 2 basketball games, one boys and one girls. And this thing, as Dr. McFadden mentioned, this thing is evolving. I'll put it that way, because at the boys' game, the officials had on masks. The players, most of the players had on masks, and they were wearing them appropriately. Now, my understanding is the official can give the athlete or anybody on the bench, either benches, one warning to put the mask on properly, and the next time they can remove them from the game. I saw student athletes with the mask worn as a chin guard. I saw those wearing the mask properly, and I saw those wearing the mask just covering their mouth. In the stands, most of the participants were distanced unless they were together in families or group. There were some of our students that did not adhere to the policy. On several occasions, they took their mask off, and in my script several times during the game, I announced that it's a requirement to have face mask or face covering that covers your nose and your mouth while you're in the facility, and to distance yourself 6 feet apart. The officials for the boys basketball game, they would not touch the basketballs. After a play, if the ball went out, the official was then telling the athletes to go get the ball. So I didn't understand that. Then 2 days later, I go to a girls' game, and the same thing, some of the athletes had the mask on properly, some didn't. But these officials were picking the balls up and handing them to the students on out of bounds plays and stuff. So, this thing is, as Dave said, it's evolving daily. So if we just stick to one, standard protocol, we should be covered. That way we don't, keep changing everything every time we have to meet. So the guidelines in terms of how they were written, I did witness them, and they were mostly adhered to. There were some that that weren't adhering to, but for the most part, everyone was cooperative and adhering to the policy.
Okay, so there's no motion that needs to be made on that.
Only if the committee believes there's a recommendation coming from the committee to be acted on by the board.
Well, I believe that the administration is following the guidelines of the first motion or the resolution we made in the fall. It always said, well, change the guidelines, follow the guidelines. That's going well. We did talk at the committee meeting about there's two sports this winter, the girls and boys basketball. I wasn't aware, they didn't bring anything up about the ineligibility issue, so we'll talk about that next time. We did talk about the spring sports that's going into position. We talked about different committees on that. Nothing additional. Ms. Collins, did I miss anything?
No, I think that we covered a lot yesterday, but yeah, I think that pretty much sums up the most important.
That's it.
And I do have some concerns with some of the things that we heard tonight about the basketball programs, the 2:00 cancellation. There's some things we need to work on. And there were only 6 girls dressed in the game to play the other night when they played Edison. Now, I don't know, I'm not aware if that was because no one was aware that we were fielding a team, but we voted back in January to move forward with approving winter sports for both boys and girls based on the number, if we have enough student athletes to participate. So I don't know what the delay was in providing that information to the students to put themselves in a position to be on the team. And the whole thing about eligibility or student athletes not being eligible, I'm not sure what we need to do with that, because this district has a policy that in order to be eligible, the students have to have a cumulative 2.0 grade point average. The Michigan High School Athletic Association requirements are passing two classes. So that means you could have 3 Fs and two Ds and still be eligible to participate in athletics. Years ago, this board upped that ante and served as a policy of overall grade point average of 2.0. And that's where we are. And our student athletes need to understand the importance of that, because one, you're a student first and an athlete second. And if you're not academically eligible as a student, you can't participate as an athlete. And this is not the first time that this matter has been brought to the board regarding ineligibility. Now, I don't know if it's a case that we had an overwhelming number of the student athletes that were ineligible. I've heard individual athletes being ineligible to participate in a contest, but the whole team, that I'd have to wait back and see what the data is on that.
Mr. President, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
You know, and this is pertaining to just our sports program in general. In my opinion, we need not to be, and I'm not talking about grades. What I'm talking about is as far as preparation for participating in a competitive sport like basketball. Being a former basketball coach of almost 15 years and coaching girls, I coached a girls basketball team here in Mount Clemens for 5 years, but I had 3 to 4 months of conditioning in order to compete competitively towards our opponents. Michigan High School Athletic Association has just allowed both the girls and the boys to practice and also of somewhat contact as far as basketball, which we all know is a highly contact sport. So, you know, I don't want our teams to be just, you know, why we didn't have a team. Well, a lot goes into putting a team on the court. It's just not put them in a uniform, send them out there to play. If they're not in condition, and I had girls, and Mr. Rippon can contest to this, I would play with girls with 6, 7 girls, but you know what? We was competitive because we conditioned like crazy. All my girls can run a 5-minute mile. So if we don't give our teams or our athletes an ample amount of time to condition in order to compete, it's going to be hard for us to put teams on the court. There may be some games, and I'm not talking about grades. This is separate from grades. There may be some times where, you know what, it's going to be tough to put a team on the court because the girls or the boys can't do it because they have not had that regular conditioning time frame before the basketball season starts. I just want to make that comment.
Oh, there was a lot of bending over at the knees and huffing and puffing going on at that game.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of it, both teams. Yep. All right. Next on the agenda, board comments. We'll start this evening with Mrs. O'Neill.
Everything went well. I mean, this was a good meeting, and I was just, I think, like you said earlier, the only concern that I would have was the comments that were made from the citizen about the students that weren't able to play in the game, and the game was canceled at 2:00. So that was basically the only concern that I had too. But other than that, that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Neill. Mrs. Collins.
First, I want to say I'm wishing everybody, family that was involved in the fire, a million prayers. I can't even imagine what they're all going through and what they have ahead of them. That is our community, and I think we all love each other in our community, and we came together very well over the weekend. It was nice to see that in our city. I also am a little bit upset regarding the manner in which this game got canceled today. I don't think that reflects on the district well, especially to the other team. This is something we should have known ahead of time. But other than that, I'm glad these kids are being able to get back to some kind of normal. I know sports and extracurricular activities are extremely important to these kids. And it's something that's kind of keeping this district going right now. But other than that, that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Collins. Mr. Monk.
Thank you, Mr. President. my heart firm for my heart firm just go out to the families affected by the fire. Mount Clemens, Clemites. I'm not a Clemite, but my wife is, so I'm half of a Clemite. Just want to wish good everything that for the ones that was displaced in the fire. And also, I just want to say I made a trip up to Muskegon, Michigan this morning. When we arrived in Muskegon, Michigan, it was 7 below zero. Wind chill was 14 below zero. Everybody stay safe, but definitely stay warm. Check on, elderly people, check on family members. I know me and, some of my neighbors, we all have snow blowers. So we actually went out in the snow and we blew the whole block of Cambridge, whether, and some of the families don't have, they did it by hand, but it was nice to see because when we did it, we seen some of our elderly parents actually get out and walk a little bit because just so they can get a little bit of fresh air, but they went back inside. So that was nice, but stay warm, stay safe. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Monk. Mrs. Jarrett. Did we lose Ms. Jarrett?
No, I forgot to unmute. I'm talking to nobody. Well, what else is there? Hi, everybody. I want to, thank the staff and the teachers as well as the parents and for helping the students. And I know that everyone has had issues, had their times. I have a hairdresser whose daughter goes to Seminole, and she's very happy with Seminole. She says her daughter's doing really well. It is difficult sometimes, but I know that the parents and especially the teachers and the staff are doing their best they can with what we have and the situation with COVID. So hang in there, folks. That's one of the big things. I also want to wish that, send my prayers out to the folks that had that fire. I was like, where is that? I know where that's at. I just couldn't remember where it was at. And I said, oh, I had to look it up. And I says, I haven't been over that area in a while. As far as going forward, we have to be vigilant. Just keep doing what we're doing the best we can. And with the winter weather, I know it's not easy for some folks to get out there in it, but it is kind of nice to just step out and breathe in that cold air. Well, okay, not everybody, but but be safe. And I'm a bather. Once a bather, always a bather. So take care, everybody.
Thank you, Mrs. Jarrett. Dr. McFadden.
Thank you, Mr. President. A lot went on, a lot's been going on. I'm gonna say this simple and easy. There's no truly right way of doing the things that we need to get done, but there's a wrong way. And I'm proud to say that I do not believe our district is doing anything wrong, but doing everything they can and know that is right. And one of our strengths as a small district is that we always are hospitality for one, but also are reaching out to those that are in need. And I understand that some of our students was affected from that fire, I believe over at Seminole. And I know that we as a district are stepping in, trying to do the best we can and trying to see what is needed. And, sometimes you can just be there and see what is needed. And sometimes nobody don't even need you. But that's okay because we know that we're there. So I wanted to say thank you for everybody that's doing their hard work and also our board members. I know everybody's trying to do the best we can, especially on the Zoom meeting. And these meetings have been a lot, but I think we're doing the best we can. So those are my comments, and my prayers are for those people that are victimized by the fire. And make sure you look out for your neighbors, especially in this cold weather. Check on them, make sure they're okay, especially with this deep snow and everything else. Those are my comments.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Walker.
As we were having the meeting, I just realized that I probably did not get the chance to formally welcome Stephanie and Jamie to the board. So welcome from me to you. It's great having you on the board, and I'm excited for the next 4 years with you. Definitely my thoughts and prayers are with the victims of the fire. I cannot even in my wildest imagination imagine what they're going through, and the fact that one of our former students and his girlfriend had to jump from the 3rd-story window down. Thank God they were okay, but I can't even imagine. And I know it's really cold outside. I know it's really snowy outside, but when you think of the fire and you think of the cold and the snow, one thing that Clem always does is take care of each other. We always take care of each other. So just remember that. Look out for your neighbors, look out for your friends, take care of each other. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. I would like to say thank you to for all the community support. There are many things that go on in this district that we could not do, or the programming would not happen, or the events would not happen, or equipment not purchased if it's not for the community support and volunteers that we have here in the school district. And I would like to say thank you for all of you that whatever it is that you do, volunteering on behalf of making the educational experience for our students the best that it could possibly be through the time that you give and the resources that you share with our students. Say thank you to all of you for that. There's been some talk about the cancellation of the game at 2 o'clock. That was a last minute, but with that cancellation did not come explanation. I don't know. We don't know if it was because one of the students from one of the teams may have been in violation of the COVID protocol. We just don't know if it was us that canceled the game or if it was the other team. I'm pretty sure that information will be forthcoming to us. So we'll have a better understanding of what happened and possibly why it happened. And hopefully in the future, if there can be a longer, greater time frame for situations that come up like this. But until we understand and know the full details of what happened, and today we don't know why until we understand and see what actually the reasons were. To our teaching staff and support staff, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a new experience, even though we've been doing it for 10 months or so. Every day is a new experience with what we do and how we do it. And hopefully we're all doing the best we can to provide opportunities for our students, whether it's to help them in a remedial manner or whatever the situation is to support our students. We thank you for those efforts. We still have a lot of challenges faced in front of us, tough decisions that we need to make. We've made some tough decisions here this evening, and I thank my colleagues on the board for doing what you signed on to do, is make those hard decisions. Thank you to the administrative staff for providing the background and support information to the board so we can make decisions that are data driven. Hopefully we make the best decisions we can to move the district forward. I will echo the sentiments of my colleagues about the well wishes for those that were impacted and displaced by the fire. By virtue of what I do, I was definitely contacted Sunday about the situation, and even though it was an off day, I went to work and tried to put some things and some processes in place to see if there's any way that we could assist some of those residents, and we're still working through that and following up with that. So my prayers go out to those impacted, and for those that I tell people, it's all with COVID. This is a whole new thing for everybody. We've changed and adjusted how we live, and it's all right to say you're not okay. I'm not okay with being in a bubble. I'm not okay with not hugging people and shaking people's hands and smiling and laughing, together. I'm not okay with that, but I understand, and I'm okay with doing what I need to do to keep me safe and keep those around me safe. So I'm not okay, but I'm okay with it because I understand what it is and what we're all doing. So I just stay healthy, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you around the way somewhere, maybe at a basketball game or something. Those are my comments. Oh, no, one other comment. Hopefully the board members are getting information relative to any board training. I know Mrs. O'Neill participated in the ISD new board member workshop. Like I said, any opportunity, training, board development that you like to participate in, just let Paul or Mrs. Bill know so we can get you registered and you can participate and get those training that are highly recommended for school board members. Those are my comments. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Member Monk, second by Dr. McFadden. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Monk,
Yes.
Dr. McFadden,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 8:12 p.m. Take care, everyone. Thank you.